Awesome. So, hey, everybody, thank you for joining our third webinar here with Dan Rogers from FintechForce. I want to thank you for tuning in to Entendre's webinar series. Today, Dan is going to be going over how to essentially start off quickly and unleash your winning edge when it comes to planning and testing for your financial future of your startup. I am Cody, the head of sales here. With that, I'll kick it over to Dan and we can kind of go from there.
Thanks, Cody. I think, first of all, I just wanted to thank Entendre for the opportunity to have this basically series of webinars on financial management for your startup. This is the third one. We did one on kind of team building strategies for your finance team. We did a second one on how to read your financial statements, and this is really the capstone webinar that is really financial management strategies. And I think we've just seen, in a world where funding was super plentiful, kind of disciplines have evolved and strategies have evolved, and in terms of financial management. And so I, now that we're in an era where funding is a little more scarce, I think it's just relevant to go back and talk about kind of strategies that we employ that are successful and help companies grow really fast. So again, thanks, Cody, for the opportunity. And so I think what we're going to talk about today is really about building better models to actually, as a financial strategy, to run and build your business. I think most people get into the business of building companies with an idea and a vision for the future, and frankly, in our ecosystem, there's a pretty disciplined approach to expense management that that is pretty well defined in terms of people and hosting and other expenses, but the revenue always seems to kind of be up and to the right, and it just defies the assumptions. Really, a lot of times defy kind of reality. And so we're going to really talk about building better models and using testing as a way to really validate and as a means to improve the assumptions in those models. And again, this is really about, in a world where capital was easy to raise, none of this really mattered. In a world where we really have to be diligent about building a business carefully, and where capital is rather constrained, I think we have to really be prepared to talk to investors about our metrics. We have to be prepared to make better decisions as founders, and to be more successful at making these decisions that ultimately kind of come together as we build businesses. So anyway, you can see the agenda here. I'm basically going to lay out the case for why you should invest more of your time in planning and testing, and that is a financial strategy that will give you a longer runway and help you be more successful as a founder. Next.
Perfect.
So in what I have kind of seen across a portfolio of 60 companies is really there are kind of two schools of thought. One is kind of build it and they will come, and the other is be methodical and test your way through this experience, deliver to customers what they're looking for so your product is more successful. And I just have a good anecdote. When one of the first companies that I inherited, I was a CFO, became a CEO. It was the world's first and largest gift card trading platform, and we had our platform was basically an Apache open source platform, very robust, And it was the only people that could work on it was a team of about 10 people in New Zealand, and we were located in San Mateo, of course, and we were paying about $100,000 a month for this team. And so we had this platform that was in this business that was really all dependent upon the amount of volume we could push through, the number of gift cards we could trade. But it was a huge cost every month. And there was a real mismatch between the cost of these engineers and this monolithic platform and the volume, the trading volume that we were trying to sell into. And we couldn't iterate fast enough with this team on the other side of the world. And we couldn't grow volume fast enough. And so the financial strategy was spend a whole lot of money on this platform and hope that we can raise enough attention and action from customers to actually to do lots of gift card trades. And at the end of the day, we weren't able to test enough quickly to overcome that cost. It's this monolithic platform that we had built ended up really being a ball and chain that sunk the business. And so in my career, it has just kind of led me down the path of build light as long as you possibly can until you have product market fit. Because as founders, we tend to kind of get into these businesses and we tend to think, I've got this vision of what will change the world. This is what the world really needs. And the reality is, once you get it into market, it will change. And sometimes a little bit, sometimes a lot. And if you've built something that is not changeable, that is so monolithic that and expensive to change, then you put yourself in a difficult spot in your business. So beware of kind of building too much and not finding product market fit as you go. Next.
Yeah, and Dan, quickly to that point, I mean, I've seen a number of organizations really find a way to get valuable feedback from their customers during those like really impactful growth points from a product standpoint. So like a customer advisory board, or your 10 different our largest customers in different industries providing feedback on how you can build better for them can be really impactful, to your point, so that you're not just kind of rigid in the original idea, but you're evolving to meet your total addressable market.
Yeah, exactly. And Cody, I think it is really a mindset, as I'm attempting to say here, where I would ask founders that are watching this, like, how many tests do you have going right now? Maybe you're offering a wallet and you think the world needs a black wallet, and maybe the customers that are seeing your marketing really want a pink wallet. And if you're not testing the color of your wallet, in my metaphor, like, you just don't know, right? You're going to go 6 months and you're going to say, wow, this isn't really kind of giving me the growth I want. Let's try a different color wallet. Well, the thrust of my argument is you should be testing every day. So what we see, model one here that I'm clearly advocating against is build it and they will come. It's get lots of money up front, invest in it, have a big launch, and then hope that it sells. Work really hard to sell, but it is not necessarily certain that you've built what customers are looking for. And then you focus on runway. And you lose sleep every morning. You get up and you think, how much runway do I have left? And it is a real grind to build a business that way. And so what I'm putting forth is implement tests every day. That is, tests in pricing and tests in customer experience, tests in channels. to figure out how can you unlock value in your product and in your experience. And as a CFO, I'm sitting here thinking, well, if we can implement some low-cost testing, we'll really find out what is valuable to customers, and we have a much higher return on our investment. We're also building the metrics and the quantitative information to really build a financial model that hums, right? That works. That when we say it's going to go up and to the right, we actually know how we're going to get there.
Yeah.
I think the other thing is it's really selling with certainty. And Cody, as the head of sales at Entendre, I'm sure you can identify with this. If you know exactly what your customers really need, what are the problems that they're really worried about? In your case, maybe it is the cost of implementation, or just the cost for people to have an accounting team to do Web3 accounting, and how you can help attack those pain points. It gives you, you listen to your customers, and you actually know you've built a product to support them to really solve their problems. And it certainly gives you a lot more certainty in the sales process. So,
Yeah.
Anyway, that's at the end of the day what this is about.
And just to kind of add to that, I have 2 points. Like to your point on the plan and testing mindset, I think about it from 2 approaches. Having been in early stage companies, right? You're kind of taking that scientific method, hypothesis, test, iterate, continue from there, right? Gauge the results, make some tweaks until you get a repeatable and forecastable sales process that allows to really see how revenue can grow and how you can expand. And then to your point on like selling with certainty, I have always been a firm believer of, in order to sell a product well, you need to really understand the challenges of your buyer. So the people that listen, try to like put themselves in the buyer's shoes. What does this mean for them? What does it mean for the company? What does it mean for their executives? They're going to be able to sell with more certainty of the value this will provide to the entire organization.
Yeah. Well, and so if you think about the outcomes under these 2 approaches, build it and they will come. It's basically you either win, or as a business, you win big because you've got it dialed in perfectly, or you lose, right? I wouldn't even say it's 50-50, right? I think we all know as founders that there is some iteration that has to happen. And if you don't have enough money to do that, then you lose, right? Versus, I think in a much more capital constrained environment, making smaller bets that are winning bets. It's more conservative, but at the end of the day, if you don't have a balance sheet that is overflowing with cash, it's really the smart approach. So,
yeah.
I just want to talk about some of the benefits of why this is a good idea. And it's funny, a lot of people think of this as like a product approach, right? Product managers want to buy tools so they can do testing. They can see what customers are doing in their experience. The truth is, I think of it as a financial management strategy as a CFO, right? That it is really, it is arguably more conservative. I also argue that you get to move faster as a business with more certainty. So you're confirming customer needs, right? And that's reducing the risk, right? It's putting less of your investors' equity capital at risk. You're delivering value that is, you've actually listened to your customers, heard what they're looking for, and in my albeit simple metaphor, if they said they want a pink wallet and you as a founder think the world needs a black wallet, the truth is that you have a decision to make, right? Do you want to continue to go down your path because you think the world needs a black wallet, or do you want more customers? And it's just at the end of the day, what we're really talking about is being aware of these choices and the risks that come with them. But certainly listening to your customer gets you to a product market fit faster, which sells when it comes to fundraising. And then with sales certainty and kind of understanding the metrics, these two are kind of cousins, but basically, you know, you need to think about what is the cost to close a customer, what's your close rate, are you and do you understand your funnel, or is it kind of a black box and there's not enough coming out of the black box at the end of the day? And so what I'm really advocating for is digging in, understanding every step of the funnel and starting to test, and making sure that you're testing that funnel, not because, well, because it's a smart approach to sales, but also because as a CFO, you're investing hundreds of thousands of dollars in a sales organization, maybe millions of dollars. And if they're not delivering on the kind of the assumptions you've made in your model, you need to understand why, so you can address those things. And then in terms of understanding your metrics, right, whether you call them KPIs or metrics or whatever, it's really important to understand what drives your business. And then the easy ones are, you know, just the close rate, the cost, the CAC, the customer acquisition cost. I actually think this day and age, the most important thing is, are people coming back to use your application? So we've made it, we as entrepreneurs have figured out it's really important to kind of reduce the barriers to getting into your app. So everybody goes and uses lots of apps. The question is, are they coming back? And if they're not coming back, how are we addressing that failure to come back? So really understanding those metrics that drive your business is important, because when you build that model, you want it to be sound, right? Let's go to the next slide.
Yeah.
I think there's a common perception that this is a slower approach. Actually, that I think it's a faster approach. It's certainly faster to gaining an understanding of your business. It is faster to building a product that customers will see value in, and it will certainly, in my experience, it will kind of aid in the growth process. It also, frankly, builds, you know, great rapport with customers when you're listening to them and asking them for their opinion, or really kind of digging in. I mean, at the end of the day, if that's part of the culture, like, customers and people will, you know, get it, right? So, yeah, plan more, test often. Next. I think so this is really a slide that is really about the value, fundamentally the value of this idea, and it's not new. I think in an era where funding was really plentiful, as an ecosystem, we have not focused as much on testing. We've focused on building something that's really great, and then we look at our runway and we worry when we don't have enough customers. And I think of this as you're an investor, right? And you know, an investor, when you get to that fundraising period, you know, your investors are going to love to see that you have a way of building your business that is methodical, that you have a framework that you're using, and it's quantitative. I mean, they're quantitative people. They're going to love to see that you're also quantitative, and you're taking the challenge of breaking down risks in your business and really understanding it. And I think working through that with investors, showing how good you are at doing testing is, and how you've gone from, you know, how you built value just with a testing program, is really takes the risks out of investing for them. And you know, time and time again, it's if they are looking at, you know, really a blue sky opportunity, and they want to write you a check that's, that's 7 or 8 digits. The truth is that if you have a real framework um, for kind of solving the problems that your customers have that are inherent in your product, right? I think that they're going to look at you as an entrepreneur and say, we know this is going to be an interesting journey, but here's a guy or a gal that can actually work through that. So, and then I think the last thing is it will really help you get to your product market fit faster. And whether that is addressing core needs or delivering value, right? At the end of the day, we as entrepreneurs don't succeed unless we find that product market fit. And so that's really the value. And because when you have product market fit, the sales start to come in, and then the fundraising conversations become a lot easier. So
Yeah, and the one thing too I'd add there, Dan, is some of the best experiences I've seen customers have actually turns into a bit of a flywheel from even a referral perspective, right? If you're delivering value, there could be an organic word of mouth. Hey, I was, speaking with an old coworker. I recommend this solution because it's providing me with a ton of value. It's not just a singular act. If you have product market fit, you're providing value. This could turn into that flywheel effect and turn into a separate channel so that you can have even more customers join and more feedback.
Yeah. Well, and they notice it, right? I think when they start to see releases and release emails that really meet their needs, then you're building a real relationship with them, and that has real value. So yeah, and that's the kind of thing that I think one of the best examples there, in my experience, is with 1Password. Right? If you look at how that evolved over time, 1Password was a very kind of niche password protection application, and they really listened and built products over many years. And now they're on like version 8, but that eventually they had such a huge following because they listened to their customers, that the actual jump into the enterprise or like the business world was actually pretty easy for them. It was really just a matter of connecting everyone's accounts. But I look forward to getting their release notes, because I can tell they're going to be kind of things that they're releasing that are solving my problems. And so anyway, next. So I think that I want to kind of conclude here and just talk about forecasts and planning and models. And, when you go into that fundraising period, everyone needs a model. The first thing the investors are going to ask for is your deck and your financial statements and your model. And everybody's model conveniently goes up and to the right. And I think honestly it's kind of like an expectation, but it's actually not very smart from a founder's perspective to just hope that your sales are going to go up and to the right, that you magically this is going to happen. And I think in order to build a model that is truly a business model in the spreadsheet sense of the word, in a sales sense, in a marketing sense, like it is a business model, you have to actually know what the assumptions are. You have to have tested them. And I think that as a founder, it gives you the confidence to talk through your model. It also is a lot more likely to be successful. And whether you raise money that day or 3 months later, it's time well spent, right? And because you're in business not to raise money. You're in business to deliver a life-changing experience to your users. And um, uh, and and the fundraising process just is easier when you have a model that makes sense and you can talk about it. So next. I do want to just spend a minute talking about the marketing and sales funnel, because I'm passionate about it, and it is so expensive for a startup to build a marketing and sales capability, and it needs to be successful. I mean, you think about it, it's basically $200,000 or $300,000 investments. If you only have a couple $1,000,000 in the bank, it's a lot of your capital going to selling your product, and it should be you should be asking yourself every day, what do I expect of my team, my marketing team and my sales team, like in terms of like the metrics, and then also are those being achieved? And because if they're not, right, then I think you should naturally start testing. Like, how can you find a pricing approach that works better? Is it really just your pricing approach is great, but you're not presenting it well? How are you interacting with your customers? In terms of generating leads, is your site optimized to get people to go and use your product? And really understanding the kind of needs and preferences so that you can help your team be successful, is super important. I don't know, Cody, I'm assuming this is like music to your ears, but it's for me, I see lots of dollars going into investing in sales, and I'd love to see it be more actively cultivated.
Yeah. Well, I think to your point, I can and have talked about these kinds of things all day. The one thing I would say is not every business is the same. Not every go-to-market motion is the same. And, in my experience working from seed to public companies, sales, especially early stage, is a team sport. So like to your point, sales and marketing need to be in lockstep. You also need to be really integrated with the founding team and product so that you can not only relay the feedback from the customer to product, but try to push it out to market as quickly as possible. And like, the last thing I'll say about this is you're dead on when it comes to kind of laying all the cards out and saying, is it the pricing model? Is it our go-to-market? Is it, the website? Is it optimized? Really spreading things out and taking a step back allows you to understand what you need to optimize or what may not be working in this exact scenario.
Oh, well, and so to our kind of topic here, it's like you got to be testing these things all the time, right?
Yeah.
Otherwise you have some monolithic expectation of the sales and marketing dollars and team, and it's a team sport, right? It is the finance people that create the pricing model, that really, frankly, don't have any idea what the customer thinks of it, or they put some number in a model that's like how many deals are going to get sold this month, and they really have no idea how hard it is to sell a deal. So it has to be a team sport, and we have that as entrepreneurs in smaller companies. We have an opportunity to work together there, and teamwork is not the topic today, but it is certainly an essential ingredient, and I think testing everything you're doing there is critical too. So
yeah.
Next. So the last thing here is just building a financial model that works and that impresses investors, right? There is, average companies build models and send them to investors that don't really have great assumptions in them. And great companies have great models that everybody really understands the assumptions you're making around customer acquisition. And if you're in a startup that doesn't have a whole lot of customer acquisition experience, the reality is you don't have any data. And so you've got to create that data. And the way you do that is with some really thoughtful tests. And I'm not a sales or marketing person. I couldn't even prescribe the tests that need to be done. But you should be thinking about the channels and the cost of acquisition in different channels, and really able to prove out to investors that the assumption, the model that you've chosen is the most effective one. Obviously there are real benefits to having a good model. I think that as an entrepreneur, I liken a good financial model to a map, right? And it is the way you get through the jungle of building your company. And it's like you wouldn't go into the Amazon without a map. You wouldn't get through the jungle. You wouldn't survive a month without a really good map. And so your model is your map for building your business. And if you don't have a map, then the reality is you spend too much money, you don't have enough sales, and things don't go your way. And so I really encourage everyone to build a model and think of it as the map for your business, and don't leave home without it. And I would just conclude by saying you really should unlock the value that you as an entrepreneur can deliver to your customer by doing a lot of planning and testing. You will make better decisions. You will find product market fit faster, and you will develop a real following. And that is a financial strategy that is that I think helps people grow businesses faster and smarter. So thanks again for your time today. And Cody, thanks for the opportunity to do this series together. It's been a pleasure.
Yeah, no, Dan, thank you so much for being a part and imparting, all of your years as a C-level executive's wisdom on our viewers. So thank you again. All of these are going to be available, on our website and on YouTube. If anybody wants to, re-watch them for some of the nuggets that Dan has dropped here, we will continue to be having this webinar series for the rest of the year. And we look forward to, hopefully providing more value over time and speaking to every one of you. So one last plug, of course, if you need outsourced accounting and finance help, Dan at FintechForce is a fantastic option. And if you need, a Web3 subledger, I would recommend you take a look at Entendre. But, thank you for everybody that has joined and those watching, and have a good rest of your day.
Thanks, Cody.
Thanks.